Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to Coaching Think Talk. I am Coach Maan from Life Coach Philippines, and this is Coaching for Healthy Mindspace. So, this coaching conversation is for individuals who are experiencing uncertainty and overwhelm in their lives because of some negative and unhealthy thoughts that they are battling in their minds. And it is my deep desire to help them break free from these thinking patterns through the renewing of their mind so that they can have full and abundant lives as they journey their calling and purposes. And I'd like to thank you for joining me live this afternoon. Please bear with me as I am feeling a bit under the weather, hence my voice. But again, thank you. And do leave your digital footprint by letting me know where you are watching me from today. And you can also tag a friend or a family member so that they can join our discussion this afternoon. And also, you may please feel free to share this video so that we can reach more individuals who can benefit from what I will be sharing in our session. And if you are watching this on a replay, please don't forget to type in hashtag replay. So this video is actually being streamed in the Facebook page of Life Coach Philippines, and this is also simultaneously streamed at the YouTube channel of Coach A I Connect. So if you are new to both platforms or if you haven't done so yet, please like, follow, and subscribe our pages so that you will be notified of other videos like this and other events that we are doing in Life Coach Philippines. So, if this is your first time to see me, let me introduce myself. I am Coach Maan Lamorena, and I am a certified co-actively co-create life coach. I am also a certified mental toughness coach, and I am a member of Coach A Coaching Club and a very proud scholar of the 6 steps to six-figure public speaking training by Master Coach A. And I'd just like to share to you the pictures of my fellow coach speakers. This is the poster that we had when we had our culminating activity around 2 weeks ago. So um yeah, that's my fellow coaches there. And if you're like me who actually wants to overcome the fear of public speaking, I would like to invite you to join us in the 5-minute talk club so you can master the 5-minute talk formula the fun way with Master Coach A. And later, as soon as I'm done with this talk, I will share the link of the Facebook group so you can join right after this session. And also, if you missed the Samut Summit virtual event and you still want to see, you want to hear the messages of the 20 coach speakers, you can catch the replay. You can just connect with Coach Rizal, 0917-586-1661 so that you'll be able to access the replay. So there, hope to see you in the 5-minute talk club. And speaking of community, I would also like to share with you this Facebook community that I created. It's You Renewed, and this is a group where I share my thoughts on and ideas on how we can win the battle in our minds. You know, the negative thoughts that usually come to our heads. And if this is something that you are passionate about, or this is something that you'd like to know more of, do join me. And also, if you want to connect with me, you know, you just have any questions or clarifications or anything, you want to have a conversation with me, you can reach me at my Facebook page. That's Coach Maan. So you can also like and follow it, and I hope to connect with you one of these days. So as I go about our conversation today, I encourage you to share whatever thoughts, insights, or learnings that you may get with these hashtags, Pack My Bag Moment and hashtag Coaching Think Talk, to your timeline so that more people who, if they were not able to catch my video, will also be blessed with the learning that you will share to them. So before I begin, I would just like to acknowledge those who are joining me this afternoon. Hello, Coach Lacey and Coach Candy. Yan. Coach Candy actually already shared the link to the 5-minute talk club. So please just gonna take you a few seconds. Click the link and join us now. So Again, this is coaching for healthy mind space, and today I want to share with you how we can create healthy boundaries for a healthy mind space. And I'd like to pose this question to all of you this afternoon. What comes to mind when you hear the word boundaries? Um, Actually, before, when I would hear the word boundary when I was younger, ang naalala ko yung sa taxi at saka yung sa jeep, yung boundary nila. But kidding aside, of course, I imagined a gate. I also imagined a fence. And sometimes boundary could also mean a line between states and cities, diba? The boundary, let's say, of this one, like this image, the boundary between the United States and Canada. So there's that boundary. And when we think of this gate, this fence, or any marker, whether it's a physical or an imagined line, usually the idea is that anything that is beyond that or anything that goes over that is off limits, or for others, there would be consequences when you cross that line, when you cross that boundary. So that has always been the image or the thought in my mind. So for you, what your definition of boundary is, you can share it in the comments section so that others will also know what was your idea of a boundary. But now, let's go to Oxford Dictionary. Siyempre, we will go to the expert in defining things. And Oxford Dictionary defined it as real or imagined line that marks the limits or edges of something and separates it from other things or places. Or also included there, simply put, a boundary is a dividing line. And boundaries, as I mentioned earlier, can be physical and actual lines. Example, your house from your neighbor's house, there would be a physical boundary, which can be a fence or a gate or any line, kung wala kayong gate or fence. But other times, boundaries can also be non-physical. It can be well, aside from physical, it can be material, of course. That would include energy, time, finances, and it can also be emotional and mental. And nowadays, with the situation that we are in, of course, there's still extended lockdown and a lot of things being done mostly at home. Um, yung separation of our work with our personal lives, and also for our children, their studies and their personal lives, it's becoming more blurry. There are no clear or distinct lines anymore because your home is now also your office. It's also now a daycare or also now a school. And because of that, you realize and you hear stories of a lot of people who are suffering from unhealthy lifestyle. Some of them also, they're having conflict in family and in their relationships. They're also experiencing burnout. And aside from that, there are also other stress, mental, and emotional concerns that are coming out because of the lack of clear boundaries. And when we don't have any clear set of boundaries and all our limits are blurred, it can take a toll on our life and our relationships, as I've mentioned also. And when there are no healthy boundaries given, you can end up these things, you can end up resentful. You can also end up overwhelmed. You're overwhelmed because you can say no. You also feel that you're stressed because, of course, all the other things, you feel like it's all piling up, it's all coming down on you, and you all have to attend to it. So obviously, stress is going to be there. You don't have any time out, diba? So there with burnout, syempre, pag nasobrahan ka na ng stress, eventually, matutuloy na yan doon sa burnout. Parang, pagod na pagod ka na, you just wanna throw in the towel. And also, it could also, have the tendency to make someone lose their self-respect. And you know why? Because sometimes when you don't have any boundaries, you go against your values and beliefs just so you can please others or just so you can do what was asked of you. And when that happens, it's like we're basically giving up the remote control of our lives. And when we do that, when we don't set the boundaries and we give the remote control of our lives to others, so that's when we allow them to determine what we like. We allow them to determine where we are headed. And sometimes we even allow them to determine who we are. And at after all these things, nobody likes that. Nobody likes to have someone else determine what they want to do and how they should live their lives for them. And that's why all these things, resentment, overwhelm, stress, burnout, and loss of self-respect, can happen when there are no clear boundaries. And that is why creating healthy and clear boundaries are very important. And it is a must, especially if you want to have a healthy mind space, if you don't want all negative and other mental clutter there in your minds. There must be clear and healthy boundaries set in place. And the thing with boundaries is that it's actually very vital in order for us to thrive and be in healthy relationships. You cannot have healthy relationships and you cannot nurture, what do you call this, a healthy life if you don't have them. When you have them in place, it actually allows you to communicate your needs and your desires clearly. And when you do that, you don't fear any repercussions or any judgments. And it also is used to set limits so that others do not take advantage of you, they do not manipulate you, and they do not hurt you. That's what boundaries are for. And it is actually, when you put boundaries, it is also a way for us to practice caring for ourselves and respecting ourselves, because we need to do that. We need to take care of ourselves, especially in our current situation. When a lot of things tend to burn us up, we have to do this. We have to care for ourselves. And setting clear boundaries can actually lead to, a lot of things. So earlier, I showed you the things, the what do you call this, the disadvantages of not having any boundaries. And this time, I'd like to share with you what having healthy boundaries can lead to. And when you set them up, first of all, you become clear on your values. You give clarity on the things that you value and also your belief system. You are also able to have a greater sense of identity, of course, because you're making decisions for yourself. You understand what you want. You're able to express what you want. And aside from that, it also leads to better self-esteem. Of course, when you know that you can express what you want, you can share your desires without fear of any repercussions or judgment, then you become more confident, you have better self-esteem. And this is very important. It also can help you cultivate good mental and emotional well-being. Siyempre, di ba? Kasi kumbaga, you're able to make decisions for yourself. You're able to think your decisions clearly without feeling the pressure and the stress of having to please others. Then it it brings you to having good mental and emotional well-being. And of course, the thing that we like, it will also avoid burnout, diba? Kasi nga, you're able to set limits for yourself. That's why you get to have the proper work and life balance. You get to have the proper rest time and work time, and it avoids burnout. But of course, reality is that while there are a lot of advantages in having boundaries, it is still not easy to do that. It's still a challenge for a lot of people to set them up, especially if you are someone who is first, this is the first time you've heard of creating boundaries, or you've heard of it before, but you don't know what it's for. And, it's also because people around you are not used to having boundaries in place. So, may challenge siya talaga. And that's why kailangan natin to, because that's what's been that's what's been happening to a lot of us. Some of us, we are so used to putting the needs and feelings of others before ours. So hence we tend to to feel guilty when we consider putting up boundaries. Raise your hand if you're like one of those. I used to be like that. Lalo na nung bago pa lang ako sa idea of setting boundaries. It was very difficult for me to navigate the situation because I'm already overthinking of what others would feel. And sometimes we also feel that when we put up boundaries, it would jeopardize our relationships. That when we do that, people will think that we are being difficult, selfish, and at times irrational for putting up boundaries. But it is needed. It is actually essential for us to have them in place. And the thing with boundaries is that when it is created with the intention to be more loving and caring towards yourself and others, when you put boundaries because you want to be able to nurture yourself and your relationships, um, it's not meant to punish. But on the contrary, it becomes beneficial to help relationships grow and flourish. And that's what healthy boundaries are for. So, if you're like most who's been wanting to finally put these limits in place, but you don't know where to start, allow me to share these 6 steps that you can take to set healthy boundaries for you and your relationships. And this is how you can start. Let's go with step 1. Of course, the first thing that we need to do is to define your boundaries. Okay. Simply put, you have to clearly identify and write down what your boundaries and your limits are. Because you cannot put them in place if you don't know what they are, right? It's very simple. So when you want to define your boundaries, how can you do that? If you're telling me, for example, Coach Maan, this is my first time, I don't know what they are. So usually you start with writing the things that you are willing to put up with and nothing more. So anything beyond that, okay, that's the boundary. Or, you can also think of the times when you felt a bit frustrated, a bit stressed, overwhelmed, or even resentful, and then backtrack on what would you have wanted done in the first place, what response would you have wanted, or what ideal situation would you have wanted, then that's when that's your boundary. So you can write that down also. The thing with defining your boundaries is that there are no two set of boundaries that are the same. Your boundary will be different from mine or from your friends, from your family members, even for spouses, they can have different boundaries. Of course, there are things that you will probably have the same boundaries at, but there are others that you'd probably be different in, and that's okay because we are all different. We have unique personalities, unique needs, and you also come from different backgrounds. So that's also a factor into the boundaries that we have. So don't fret if, for example, you're writing it down and then you're thinking, oh, I've heard this from her, but hers sounds different. That's totally okay. That's why you define your boundaries. These are your personal boundaries. These are what would work for you. That's okay. So once you've defined your boundaries, the next thing that you can do is to, of course, communicate your boundaries. Okay, this is very important. Once you've come up with these limits or these things that you are willing to put up with, you have to communicate them. You cannot implement a boundary that only you knows. People cannot guess what your boundaries are. Diba? You have to let them know. Of course, in a gentle and non-confrontational manner. It can be, sometimes you don't even have to say that my boundary is like this. Sometimes all you have to do is when someone asks you to do, let's say, a favor for work, and you don't want to do it or you can't do it, it's as simple as saying, no, I cannot do it. That's already you communicating your boundaries, that anything beyond, let's say, this task or this time or whatever boundary that you have set in place, that's it. But for others, of course, there may be situations where you need to clearly say the word, write it down, or remind the other person. And that's so totally okay. But the most important thing is that you communicate it. Because when you don't communicate it and people don't know what your boundaries are, people will really violate them, because they have no idea it exists. And that's why it's important that as you define your boundaries, you set them early on, especially in, let's say, if it's a new relationship, a working relationship, or even a romantic relationship, a business relationship. You set them early on so that this can prevent a lot of hurt, a lot of disappointment, and a lot of frustration from happening on both sides, because there's already awareness. There was already communication, prior communication of the boundary. And that's creating and communicating a healthy boundary. So now you've done with communicating it. The next thing you have to do is to, of course, follow through with your boundaries. And this part is very critical in successfully implementing healthy boundaries. Excuse me. You know, when you set boundaries but you don't follow it through, it actually lets the other person or the other party think that they have an excuse to overstep your boundaries or violate it because you're not following it through. So it's also showing a lack of self-respect because these are your boundaries that you're not even following through. So obviously on their end, they would think that it's okay to do the same thing. So, as much as possible, do not make any exceptions for your boundaries without thinking about it carefully. Of course, there may be situations wherein, for example, because boundaries can be flexible depending on the situation and the person as you set it. So, for example, for this moment, you decided that, okay, your bedtime will be at 10 p.m. Then the following day, you were more lenient, 11 p.m. Then that's okay, but you have to think it carefully. Don't just, what do you call this? Don't just be inconsistent about the whole thing. And that's going to be our next point, because you may find yourself compromising on things that are not acceptable to you. And when you do that, again, it could lead to the other emotions and negative effects that I mentioned earlier about resentment, overwhelm, stress, burnout. And these are the things that we are avoiding with putting the boundaries. And, there will also sometimes be a situation wherein you'll probably want to take the easy way out and give in to avoid any conflict or to avoid any further discussion. Or for parents, sometimes, diba, yung mga anak natin, kasi pagod na tayo eh. So parang, sige na, yes na lang, o sige, bahala na, ganyan. But the thing that we have to remember is that we should not. When we find ourselves in situation where we want to give in and just take the easy way out, don't. Don't. Because again, we might end up regretting and resenting the decision that we made. And we might also be giving the other party or the other person an impression that they can continue to overstep our boundaries or sometimes even continue violating it. So don't. And that's why after following through with the boundaries that you have set in place, the next thing we have to do is to be consistent with it. Of course, this is related to number 3. We have to be consistent. No matter how challenging it may be at first, it is best to stick with your boundaries until other people are able to fully understand why you are doing it, or or until others are fully aware that there is such a boundary that exists. And because letting boundaries slide can lead to confusion and also encourage new expectations and demands from those around you, because they can, when people see that you're being inconsistent, then they can probably try to bend that situation and try that, oh, maybe this time she will not follow through with it, maybe this time I can get away with it, maybe this time she can make this presentation for me and all that. And we don't want that. So again, be consistent. Try to keep things consistent and steady. And this actually will help, as you continue to do this, this will actually help you reinforce your original values and your beliefs. And it will also ensure that the lines the boundaries, the limits that you have put are clearly established for others to see and respect. And after you've become consistent with the boundaries, so now, of course, you're enjoying the benefits of the boundaries that you have set in place. Another thing that you must understand with healthy boundaries is that we have to take responsibility for it. Let's face it, not everyone will initially react nicely to the boundaries that we have set in place, especially if it is a foreign idea to them. And when that happens, just simply acknowledge your reason for doing so and stick with it. You just take responsibility for your boundaries. You don't even have to over explain. And also, do not shift the blame to someone or something for you creating your boundaries. Because sometimes, as a way of explaining why we need to put boundaries, we're saying, just an example, I need to do this kasi ganito, si ganyan, si ganon. You don't even need to shift the blame to someone or something. Remember, your boundaries is for your own well-being. It's not to control, not to blame, or not to manipulate others. So that's why whatever action or responsibility or consequence even that will come out from the boundaries that you have set in place, we have to be accountable for that. Do not shift the blame to anyone and just, face it and take responsibility for it. That's also showing respect for others. And last but not the least, of course, respect others' boundaries too. As the saying goes, respect begets respect. And while it is crucial that we set our own boundaries, it is also very important, equally important, that we respect the boundaries set by others. And when you come to a point that, for example, you are unsure of what they mean or what they want to happen, all you can do is ask, clarify, and accept. Accept. We're all different people with different backgrounds and different experiences. So, no two boundaries are alike. No two boundaries will look the same or will have the same effect, but both boundaries, regardless of their differences, must be respected. You want people to respect your boundaries, respect others' boundaries as well. And that's really the key to creating healthy boundaries. So having healthy boundaries is key to a healthy mind space because it allows you to take care of your needs and prioritize yourself. Um, not that for others it may sound selfish when you say that you want to prioritize yourself, but in reality, when you look at it deeply, when you prioritize yourself, you become more productive because when you are able to care and prioritize yourself first, it actually puts you in a better position to care and nurture your relationships and those that you value. Why? Because you feel safer, you feel more confident, and you feel respected. That's why healthy boundaries must be set in place for you to have a healthy mind space. And as what Christian minister Edwin Lewis Cole said, boundaries are to protect life and not to limit pleasures. So, it may take a lot of patience and practice on your end, but defining and putting up healthy boundaries and sticking with it can bring life-changing impact to you and to your relationships. And really, I've tried it also. So I know that it can really add value to your life and nurture your relationships. And now, if you feel that you still need more help in how you can create and implement boundaries, then you can also, seek professional help. You can ask a coach or a mental health provider. You don't have to do it alone. Help is available for you, but you have to desire to want to create it and to make the change. And with that, I'd also like to invite you to join me in my Courageous Living by Design coaching program. It is a 6-week journey where we will look at practical strategies to help you become more resilient and cope with the challenges in life that we are facing. And when you have someone who encourage you, who is there to support you, you can really begin to see that things can be different and better. And yes, change may not happen overnight, but you can take a step now and move from where you are to where you want to be. So I hope to see you this August. Feel free to contact me at my details, and see you in the class starting this August 28th. And also, if you are not yet a smart holder of the Learning e-card, and you know you're still missing all the perks that we enjoy, I would really like to invite you to take action today and connect with Coach Rizal through 0917-586-1661 to join the Be Learning Society, the tent maker of the Be Learning Homes for Mental Fitness. And you will get 5% food and beverage discount from the Cup Coffee Republic, and also get full access to monthly mental model masterclass by Master Coach A, which happens every third Saturday of the month. Plus, you will also get the benefit of having a 90-minute free coaching session with senior coaches from Life Coach Philippines. So with that, for this September, please save the date, September 18. Our next mental model masterclass will be about the multiplier skills mental model mastery. So I hope to see you there. Again, connect with Coach Rizal right after this session. And also, for those who intend to embark on a journey of becoming a certified life coach, Master Coach A now offers the co-actively co-create life coach certification program. It is a comprehensive approach to becoming and mastering life coaching as an active process of achieving results in life. And this coaching program is 21. It includes a 21-day web-based learning sessions. There's also a 3-day live coaching bootcamp with Master Coach a 3-day live business bootcamp with senior coaching team, and there are other perks and bonuses that comes with the package. So again, please connect with Coach Rizal through 0917-586-1661 so you can discover the opportunities that are waiting for you in the profession of life coaching. So there, thank you for joining me this afternoon. Do join us again for another coaching conversation at 4 p.m. with Coach Tin for Coaching for Relationship. Once again, this is Coach Maan from Life Coach Philippines for Coaching Think Talk. Coaches like us think and talk like this. This is us in the Philippines. Love, bam, boom. Thank you and bye.